Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we're talking marijuana with Bob Groesbeck. He's the co-CEO of Planet 13 in Las Vegas, the world's largest dispensary. Plus, Bryan Wachter will join us to talk about the retail component of this, all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
From your house to the White House, the folks at D&D Roofing can get it fixed with their eyes closed.
Nearly 200,000 Nevadans work in retail businesses, supporting families and the community. Nevada's retail businesses generated over $2 billion in sales tax revenue in 1 year, including nearly $700 million to help our schools. Shop around and see all that Nevada's retailers offer our state.
We're the Retail Association of Nevada, representing thousands of Nevada businesses.
Businesses that work for Nevada.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you because trucks move America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the state capitol in Carson City. We're in the old Supreme Court, and we're joined by Bob Groesbeck, who is the co-CEO of Planet 13. Pleasure to have you on the program for the first time, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. It's a pleasure to be with you, particularly in this historic building.
It really is, to say the least.
I've been here for years.
And hopefully on the right side of a desk.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So for those that don't know, Planet 13 is the largest marijuana retail establishment we know in the country, perhaps in the world, and everything's legalized now. You've got Tig Segelblum as a big promoter of marijuana, has been on this program many, many times before talking about this.
Right.
And all of a sudden, out of, it seems, nowhere, suddenly there are objections coming up to marijuana in terms of the recreation lounges. For those that may not realize, right now, if you buy marijuana, you have nowhere to smoke it legally.
That's true, and that's a significant issue, particularly in Southern Nevada, where the vast majority of our customers to the Planet 13 complex are tourists, and they're here visiting, and under our current regulations, they're permitted to buy product, but there's no legal venue for them to use product. And it's an issue that we've all recognized, and it's an issue that needs to be resolved. Now, the problem with everything legislative, you get a lot of people involved, a lot of disparate groups involved. They really aren't interested in the industry per se. It's more about exercising their influence. And so the bill dropped last week. We support the concept of the Cannabis
what's the
Commission.
concept?
Well, the Cannabis Commission, I think the governor has nailed that. I mean, it's important that we have a commission.
Which would be similar to the Gaming Control Board in terms of running things.
I mean, Nevada's recognized right now our statutory regime, and our rules are recognized as a gold standard, much like gaming. But we're not gaming. We're a different industry entirely. We don't have the resources or the experience that the gaming has had. We're emerging. We're new. It's constantly evolving. It's unique in that we're still illegal federally. So there are a lot of challenges. But one of the issues that's important to us as an operator is to provide our customers with a legal venue to use product. That's what this is all about. And with the bill, there's some great language in there, but there's also a number of issues that are very problematic. And I think they're designed more to impede progress than actually bring venues.
Okay, so let's throw in one thing before we get to those issues, which is the Las Vegas City Council has voted to legalize marijuana, recreation areas, and a lot of businesses are looking at this as, beyond just serving their customers, as a way to enhance revenue,
right,
which taxes will be paid on. So this is not a bad thing and employ people. So what are the problems that are showing up in the governor's bill?
Well, a couple of the issues, obviously, the arbitrary distance requirements. Those are huge. We set separation requirements for dispensaries, from parks, churches, schools, and that can go up to 1,000 feet, and then arbitrarily someone throws in 1,500 feet without giving any thought to really the practical implications to existing operators. I think our operation would probably be okay within that 1,500 feet, but other operators, it obviously would take them out of the opportunity. And it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to make gaming distance restrictions more onerous than you would for parks, schools, or churches. I mean, it's arbitrary, and it was designed to be arbitrary. And that language needs to be stricken, in my opinion.
Okay, what other languages in there that concerns you?
Well, again, there are other issues in there that are a little more problematic. Is they ban alcohol, for instance.
And what's the thinking behind that, or is there any thinking behind that?
Well, I don't know if there is. We had the opportunity to meet with the sheriff in Clark County, and I respect his opinions. And we've agreed that we probably should walk before we run. So maybe it does make sense to license these operations, give them some time, see how they perform, see whether the calls for service are any different than you'd see in a tavern. But to just blanketly restrict it or prohibit it, I don't think is the correct thing to do. I think time is a valid point. We should see how they develop and operate. But again, arbitrary restrictions or prohibitions make no sense. And so, we want to be fair, we want to be reasonable, we want to work with law enforcement. Our goal, of course, is just to get these operational. The other issue for us, it's a gating issue really for the bill, is, as dispensary operators, now many of us have been open now for, going on 3 years, or longer in some cases. If we meet the requirements to be a dispensary, you should automatically meet the requirements to be a lounge venue if you meet the other criteria. I mean, space is an issue, obviously. So we should be grandfathered in and let the Cannabis Commission, in my opinion, deal with licensees going forward, beyond this initial round. So those are some of the big issues for us in the bill. Structurally, I think it makes good sense. I support the governor's attempt to create the commission because I think it's necessary. But you can't throw every conceivable issue into a bill. And the lounge bill, if we can't find common ground, maybe that entire section should be removed, and they move the rest of the bill forward. But right now, as it currently sits, it's not workable for our company.
Okay, so if they would remove the lounge part from the bill, would that then allow cities and counties to be able to license as they saw fit, the way that the city of Las Vegas has done so far?
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's, there's some validity to that. Local land use and zoning issues should be left to the local jurisdiction. That's how it should be. Much like the Gaming Commission, they set rules and regulations that govern all operators in the state, and they set broad parameters. There are minimum room requirements, for instance. But then everything shifts to the local entities for land use and zoning. And I think we should, if we're going to adopt that model, we should adopt it evenly across the board, and those rules should apply to the Cannabis Commission as well.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back with more with Bob Groesbeck from Planet 13 after this.
Tamarack Junction is South Reno's hotspot with over 450 of the latest slots and video games. Sully's Sports Bar, the Dining Car Restaurant, William Hill Sportsbook, and the Tamarack Steakhouse and Lounge. We're just north of the Summit Mall in South Virginia. Yeah.
How do you shed some light on a better economy? Start with growth inspired by Valley Electric Association. We're a member-owned power company that puts Nevada first, and we're doing big things, like providing prosperity by securing renewable energy projects. For Nevada, that means more jobs and more opportunities, all for a strong statewide economy. In other words, together, we're doing powerful things. Visit us at vea.coop to learn more.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
The Tamarack Junction Steakhouse is known for signature steaks, handcrafted cocktails, and world-class wines. Join us Thursdays and Friday nights from 4:30 to 6:30 in the Steakhouse Lounge for live music, gourmet plates, and well-priced wines, just north of the Summit Mall on South Virginia.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Bob Groesbeck. He's the co-CEO of Planet 13, the largest marijuana dispensary, at least in the United States, perhaps the world. So we're talking about the governor putting together this commission. There's a bill that goes along with it. I remember, 15, 20 years ago, when the men's clubs really started to take off in Las Vegas. Gaming was very unhappy that they were losing about $30 million a year at that time. I don't know what the number is today, to those establishments. And obviously because of their licenses, they could not have that kind of a venue within their casinos. And they weren't happy about the fact that that money was going elsewhere. Is that part of what's driving these issues for you as far as marijuana goes, that gaming is concerned, that people are going to be going away from hotel casinos and coming to your properties?
I don't know for sure. I mean, I can guess, I can surmise.
Feel free, by the way.
Nobody's told me that, from the gaming community directly. But yeah, I think.
But indirectly?
No, I think it's somewhat short-sighted. Our customer is a hotel customer, casino customer, first and foremost. So we're sharing a customer. Currently, under the the federal regulatory scheme as a Schedule I narcotic, the gaming community or the commission has decided they don't want to be involved in the business. That's their prerogative as an industry. We respect that.
Well, they can't be. I mean, the Gaming Control Board made that very clear.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They cannot be. Yeah. But that's a policy decision they made, and it's something they have to grapple with. But you shouldn't, by virtue of that decision, try to co-opt another industry and tell us how we're going to operate and restrict us on our ability to operate within the parameters of state law. That's our position, and that's all we're trying to do. We think we complement the gaming experience, the tourist experience, because the customers coming in, they're spending a lot of time and money in those respective properties, and then they come over to our facility, they buy product. They discover, though, very quickly that you can't use product in the hotel rooms. Again, that's a policy decision the gamers have made. So what we're trying to do is create that venue that allows them to buy and responsibly use product at a facility that's adjacent to an existing dispensary, in our case. It just makes common sense. Nobody can articulate to me, and the gaming side, of why this doesn't make sense. Discussions I've had over the last couple of years were pretty positive, that yes, we have to fill this gap. There's a void here, and it creates a real issue for our customers and for their customers. They're the same customers. And when you're telling them that they can't use product, or if they use product in a room and then the customer gets a $500 cleaning fee, that creates ill will across the board. Now you have an angry tourist customer, and it just doesn't make sense. And we've said that all along. Look, we respect your right to prohibit use on property. You have that right as a private company. We want the right to allow them to come and use the product responsibly in our facility, then get back into that cab or that ride share and go back to the hotel. It's that simple.
I wonder, and I don't expect you to comment on this, but I'll make the comment on it, which is that it's not like marijuana use is not being used in nightclubs, in hotel rooms, and outdoor venues.
Right.
I mean, there is marijuana and has been for many years all over the casino industry, and I don't blame them for, you know, publicly they have to say that they don't condone this,
Right.
but it's not like it's already occurring. And this would seem like this would actually be a benefit to them, because they could shunt and say, you can't do this in your room, but and have a partnership of some kind, not a financial partnership, but some kind of relationship.
Right, or direct them to places where you can use a product legally and responsibly. Yeah, that just makes sense. Again, the whole idea here is, you know, we have roughly 50 million tourists coming through Vegas every year. The idea is to make them comfortable and to ensure that they have a good time, that they come back again and again and again.
Did you go to San Francisco to tour the recreational lounges there?
No, I didn't do the tour.
Okay, because Tick Segelblum did, and he said that there's no reason we can't replicate that here.
Oh, I agree. There's absolutely no reason we shouldn't have legal lounges here. Now, you know, there are issues out there. Some have raised the fact that we don't need these out in the suburban areas of the valley in Las Vegas, because, you know, the whole idea again is you sell product, you go home and you use it responsibly. There's some validity to that comment. I don't know if we need lounges in every tavern in town. I just don't know if we need that. But at the end of the day, I think the market will make that determination if there's a vehicle that allows, you know, operators to make application. Right now, that's not the case. It's uncertain. And in fact, the bill, when we were originally talking about this, the intent was, I think everybody agreed that we need lounges. The decision really was how were we going to adopt the rules and regulations to implement that. And that kind of morphed into the commission and now looking at it and deciding in the first instance whether they even want them. Well, that's not what we were talking about. That's not what we were working toward. It was the consensus we believed was lounges are necessary. Now how do we get there through, you know, with the regulatory framework? And now it's, well, they can decide in the first instance whether they're even necessary. That just doesn't make any sense.
All right, that's
so we think Las Vegas did an admirable job trying to put something together.
And it's going to come. It's a question of time.
Right.
And we'll see what comes out of this. But I wish you the best of luck with this.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome.
Great
Thank you. And we'll be in Las Vegas in a couple of weeks. Hopefully, we'll get you back and we'll talk about other aspects of the industry.
Come by and see me. You can shoot from the store.
All right, deal.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Dimitri Bryan here for Design Outdoor. Are you a homeowner who's interested in remodeling or building a home? At Design Outdoor, we can show you how adding natural or manufactured masonry stone can add beauty and value to your home. And we refer only the best contractors. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
One of the most psychologically damaging things parents can do to children in divorce is disparage one another, which is why I can't believe I even have to make this commercial. Half of your kids' genetics come from this person you're spewing hate about. Your children have the right to love you both, but more than that, they deserve to love themselves.
Marilyn York might be a men's rights divorce attorney, but this is for every selfish parent. Shut up!
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are joined once again by Bryan Wachter. He's the Senior Vice President of the Retail Association of Nevada. Bob Groesbeck was just on the program, co-CEO of Planet 13, largest dispensary, at least in the country, perhaps the world, and very concerned about the bill that is forming this commission on marijuana that's putting in all kinds of restrictions on distance, etc. I know that marijuana companies are members of the Retail Association. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think, the hard part is we're in the infancy of a brand new, very controversial industry that certainly has a lot of retail components to it, but has a lot of kind of social issues attached. But I think here in this particular case is we've encouraged the development of this industry. We've encouraged the economic investment that these companies have been making in, whether it's in vertical integration or whether it's in the customer experience or whatever it is, we've encouraged that investment and we're actively encouraging it. And so I think now to kind of come back after the start and say, okay, here's the brand new set of rules, here's what we're doing, and we're not going to really kind of pay any attention to grandfathering or what you've been doing or what investment you've been making. And so I think that's what is frustrating a lot of these companies is, we've responded. We came up with this investment, we did what we were supposed to, and now it kind of seems like the carpet's being pulled back. And so we really want to be careful on what investments we have out there and what we're doing going forward.
And what's gaming's role in this?
Well, I think that's the toss-up here is you have the federal government that still considers marijuana an illegal substance, and so therefore you have gaming companies that the Gaming Control Board has said don't touch, don't even mingle at all, and so the resort corridor is kind of in this middle ground, right? It's the rest of the economy, the rest of the industry needs to come up, and the resorts are certainly an economic powerhouse, or the resort corridor is. So to kind of exclude those companies from engaging in activity around that area just because there are questions on what the gaming companies could do, might do, or maybe won't do, I think is a bad thing to do. I think it's bad business.
So I brought up the idea that 15, 20 years ago when the men's clubs opened up and really became popular, that took in those years dollars about $30 million a year away from gaming because people were going off property and gaming companies could not reproduce that kind of entertainment within their properties. Since then, as a response to that, they came up with nightclubs, day clubs where you could pay $1,000 or more for a $13 bottle of booze.
Right.
They've made a lot of money from being creative around that. Is that part of the thought process here, that they're concerned that with marijuana being a tourist driver, that they could lose a lot of revenue from people leaving casino properties and going to these lounges?
I couldn't say, not representing the resorts or gaming. I think coming at it from the retail standpoint is you certainly have a very large customer base. You have a product that now, voters in the state of Nevada has said is legal. And I think to kind of cordon off the resort corridor is saying, well, we're not really going to allow it here because not everyone can participate, I think is problematic. What we should be looking at, I think, is federal legislation that helps us answer these problems so that we can have a one-state solution. But until then, I think it's always going to be murky.
Do you think we're going to get to the point where enough states are going to legalize marijuana that the federal government is going to have no choice but to legalize it? Because they're looking at the tax revenues coming in from all the states that have legalized so far. They got to be going, hey, why are we not getting a piece of this pie?
Well, possibly. I think what's more likely is, from a nationwide standpoint, we'll take marijuana off the scheduled list of substances, and I think we'll go to a state-by-state solution, which is how I think it should be. States that want to go all the way to full recreation certainly could do so. States that want to say medical can, and states that don't want to engage don't have to. And I think at this point you kind of vote with your feet. I'm going to stay in Nevada. I enjoy it, but I think really this has to be a federal solution because some of the problems are just out of our hands.
Let's talk about the criminal justice reform bill. Steve Yeager was on here and was talking about trying to rectify some of the concerns that retail had with that criminal justice reform bill and lowered one of the thresholds down to $1,200, which I think was a compromise that worked out.
You're talking about the COLA for criminals here? So we go from $650 to $1,200 or I believe 600 to maybe 1250. But essentially what you're saying is that you can now steal more from our retailers before you hit that felony threshold. And what we're finding is that a lot of these, the petty larcenies, the teenagers, they're one thing, but a lot of these people are going in there, they know exactly what they're stealing up to those thresholds, and they're getting away with it. But
okay, so your retail is not satisfied with the compromise that
we understand the compromise, totally okay with the 1,200, although there are going to be consequences. The real problem for us in the bill is this diversionary program. So anybody, virtually anybody who commits almost any crime can enter into a pre-diversionary program. You don't have to plead guilty before you divert, and then you keep going. And if you're successfully complete it, then we kind of wipe away any trace of that conviction. If you don't successfully complete it in, say, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, you get a chance to go back and then be tried by a jury. And so that means the prosecutors have to now rely on witnesses, evidence that's 3, 2, 4 years long, because that's when you failed. And so for us, you really need to establish that guilt before I think you can go into that rehabilitation diversion program. And so that remains a huge contention for us.
Okay, and Majority Leader Canizaro was on the program last week, and it sounded from the way that she was talking that she is not happy with this bill, the way it's come over at all. Do you think it's going to get blown up before end of session as we have so little time left?
No, I think that, maybe much ado about nothing. I think, certainly the Senate Judiciary Committee, driven by the Majority Leader, is going to take a look at it. I don't think it's a secret that it's been out there. I can't say how it's been dealt with between the two judiciary chairs for the last 100 days, but I expect that the Senator Canizaro will give it a decent look at it, and what it looks like after that, I don't know.
That's where you got to leave it. 14 more days, man.
Thank you.
Stay awake, and we'll be right back. A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Bryan Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Bryan's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Bryan today. Bryan Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at bryanculpaphotography.com.
Call Marilyn Miner at Dixon Realty, 742-1280, or log on to marilynminer.com.
St. Ives Florist, for every holiday and every special occasion. For romance. Custom home design. We have the largest selection of fresh flowers in northern Nevada. And we also offer a large selection of unique gift items. Come see me, Lori Ann, at St. Ives Florist, 700 South Wells Avenue, or call me at 333-9190.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
In addition to NevadaNewsmakers.com, you can also watch Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you on the next broadcast.